Weather Center to find out how the storm had changed overnight. It did slow down. It did move somewhat. They made it very clear that that could move back. And so we are not in stable territory yet. We're still kind of moving as the storm moves. We're still seeing a zigzag motion as we go forward. It is still a Category 2 or 3 that we are expecting will come within South Carolina. All of the South Carolina coast is within that cone, so it is still all subject to possible storm damage as we go forward. So because of the slowing of the storm, this is what we have decided to do in terms of the evacuation. The greater Charleston area, greater Charleston County area, and the greater Beaufort County area will go on with the evacuation at 3 o'clock. That will include the lane reversals of I-26. The other counties, Georgetown and Horry County, we are going to move the evacuation to tomorrow morning. So that's the change that we made going forward, so that we can go ahead and start the evacuation at 3 o'clock. I can tell you that National Guard's already mobilized. We have 700 traffic control points along the interstate. You'll see lots of law enforcement officers as well as guardsmen. We will have the comfort stations, which will have the bathrooms as well as water should anybody need it as they go through the evacuation. We are in the process. We have about 315 buses that are coming from Greenville as we speak to be in North Charleston at noon. They will be picking up Charleston residents and taking them to Greenville. And then I know that there's a lot of people who are trying to move and get into hotels. What we are seeing is that the hotels in the Midlands are booked for one reason or the other, whether it was the game or whether it was this is where they wanted to find. If you are looking for a hotel, we'd recommend you go online, Airbnb or Expedia, to find out what's open. There's plenty open in the upstate area still. Greenville, Spartanburg, there's a lot open. There's sporadic open in the low country, but the Midlands does seem to be pretty full at this point. With that, I think we are, I'm going to go ahead and open it up for questions and let you know that we will be having another press conference this afternoon just to give you an update on traffic and an update on everything else going forward. So I will open it up to any questions you may have or for anyone else.
Governor, what federal assets do you guys have in place at this time, and what's the situation of status of those federal assets?
Well, we've already asked for the federal assets. I think the main thing would be the helicopters. General, do you want to?
Yes, ma'am. We're not employing any federal assets at this time, but we do have a tie out to federal and EMAC assets from our neighboring states, especially Tennessee, Kentucky, and Louisiana. So we're well positioned there. All of the liaison officers are on board right now here at the Emergency Operations Center, so we're prepared to draw anything that we may need.
And any problems with gas supplies, gas lines, outages, shortages?
So we did see some, Dukes, if you don't mind, we did see, I know that there were some outages yesterday. Those are in our smaller gas stations, because a lot of what happens is when you do an evacuation, the smaller tanks, they can only hold so much. I think the bigger gas stations are still doing well. Dukes, do you have anything you want to add to that?
The gas supply is good. The stations are running out of gas intermittently. It's a matter of getting those the carriers to the terminal and refilling, but we are hearing of no shortage of the gas supply.
All right. Any other questions?
Are you planning on doing any sort of executive order to prevent price gouging in the phone?
So we've already done that, and we are keeping an eye on that, and then we are also working with the Attorney General on the price gouging.
Have there been any reports of price gouging at this point?
You know, I've seen a couple of things on social media, none exact yet, but I mean, we will have people out on the roads checking that just to make sure. And we would ask that anyone that does see any sort of price gouging going on, that they contact, whether it be EMD, and let us know, and then we'll go from there.
Governor, I don't know if this is for you or maybe one of the higher control. Does staggering the evacuation make it easier because it's not all going on at the same time, or does it make it harder because you're having to concentrate here, then move here?
No, we're very comfortable with the phasing in that we're doing. What we're trying to do is actually, because the storm changed, we are changing with the storm, and I think that's very important that we just make sure that we do it in phases as we see that change. Beaufort and Charleston definitely need to go ahead and plan on evacuating at 3, but we saw that because the storm had slowed down, we can move that evacuation for Georgetown and Horry to tomorrow morning.
Should that make the roads a little less crowded maybe?
I think, you know, whereas I saw a lot of reports where 1 million people being evacuated, you're looking now about 250,000 is what we're looking at in terms of evacuations, and that does not count tourists.
So that's today, $250 million, and then tomorrow would be a different number.
I think that's right. Is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes,
Around
yes,
that.
that is right. Any other questions?
Will any lane reversals continue until this is over?
Yes. So the lane reversals will start at 3 o'clock today. They're going to go ahead and start prepping for that. And then, Director, if you want to go ahead and talk a little bit about that.
Thank you, Governor. Yes, the lane reversal is set for 3 p.m. this evening on the I-26 corridor going from Charleston to the Columbia area. And once we implement the lane reversal, they will run continuously.
So nobody can get into trouble?
Oh, yeah, there are other options. One, if coming out of Columbia, you could take US 321 to Orangeburg to US 178 to Somerville to US 78 into Charleston. That's one of other options.
And that again was the reason that we wanted to focus on clearing out the Midlands, is because when you have those numbers coming through, we want to make sure we have as many people off the road as we can so that everybody can get through to their evacuation stop.
Do we know if there will be any shelters opening?
So what we have done, so we've got the Emergency Management Division website that I'd like to go through with you. If you go to www.scemd.org, this is what you're going to see. You're going to want to click on Hurricane Matthew, and then you will see all of these things in this area. The Know Your Zone is very important, because if you are coming from any area, if you go and hit Know Your Zone, you put in your address, it will tell you exactly what your evacuation route is so that you know what you need to do. Also, the other part of that is it will list the shelters. We have shelters already ready to be staffed. So as soon as the North Charleston buses start hitting Greenville, we'll have 3 shelters up. I'm going to ask Director Alford if she wants to add any more to that.
Yes, we'll begin that process at 1 p.m. today for anyone that wants to relocate to shelters in the upstate from the Charleston area or the Low Country. We also have 110 shelters that are available for up to 66,000 residents. So we're on standby for those shelters to open as we need them.
Derek, do you want to put the map up? That way everybody can see exactly just those areas that... So, I mean, this is where our focus is right now. The entire cone is still filling up the South Carolina coast, but what we're trying to focus on is the lower parts, which I want to thank the people of South Carolina. I think they started evacuating last night. It was all over social media. It's a good thing when we all listen to each other and take care of each other, and I think we saw that last night. So that's going to be very helpful in the evacuation today. We ask everybody to please be safe. And for those of you that are wondering whether you should leave or not, I again will tell you that if you do not leave, you are putting a law enforcement officer or a National Guardsman's life on the line when they have to go back and get you. So we are trying to be extremely cautious. Our goal is to make sure that no lives are lost, that people get moved out safely, and that they get moved back safely. And so that's where we're going to go with the plan, but we will also have a press conference this afternoon and continue to inform the public on changes and things as the storm moves. We will continue to let you know.
Governor, can you give an update on medical evacuations? I know you all were talking about DHEC spearheading that. Any details about who's been evacuated so far, or who's getting evacuated?
Let Director Heigl.
Just to clarify, the medical evacuation applies to facilities that DHEC regulates. And so we have a number of different categories of those facilities that are subject to the evacuation order in the zones that are identified. We have acute care hospitals, we have alcohol and substance abuse hospitals, nursing homes, daycare facilities for adults, residential treatment facilities, et cetera. And so we are working with facilities to make sure that they have their needs accounted for. At this point, everything is going smoothly.
And I don't think we've had any transportation requests at this time.
We had one transportation request, which we've been able to meet.
So there have been evacuations for medical?
They're in progress. That's correct.
That started yesterday.
That's correct, at 3 p.m.
Seeing as how we're still going to see such a significant amount of rainfall for the Charleston and lower areas like that, is there anything beyond the evacuation that you guys already have in motion or are going to set in motion in the next few hours?
I mean, everybody is positioned. The National Guardsmen are positioned. Our troopers are positioned. You've got 700 control points that we're going to have. This is something we're watching literally, getting updates every 3 hours. And so as that happens, but I will tell you, Team South Carolina positioned themselves beautifully in terms of being ready. We think that everything is going to go hopefully as well as planned. We just ask everyone to be safe as they travel, and to also check on your neighbors, check on your family members, take care of your pets, and just know that we'll continue to update as we go forward. But we appreciate the cooperation that everyone has given across South Carolina, because it's made a big difference.
Is any of this in response to the lessons you guys have learned from the flood last year?
You know, the hurricane and the flood are very different. You know, the flood, we knew that there was going to be a rain cloud that came and just sat on us. That was 24 inches in 24 hours. It's hard to prepare for that. It's more in dealing with the recovery. With a hurricane, we can actually prepare and try and get more people out as we see where the storm's going to go. So what we're trying to do is be more accurate in terms of this, but also make sure that we're informing everyone so that they know what to do. All right, thanks, guys, and we'll have another press conference this afternoon.